that's about this. The whole time after that and after calling my therapist, it feels like being in transmission I can't yet see but deeply feel. About longing a feeling for a long time and now living that longing. About being emotionally drained and tied in a community that performs but doesn't breathe. That was the podcast episode, The In-Between State of Being. And that was just right before Montreal. I was really looking forward to Montreal because I had the feeling that it will give me some clarity, because around this time I was so lost. I had no idea what to do or where to go. I was like, what do I do with my life? What do I do with Whistler? That was around this time. And we all know what happened in Montreal. We all know the texts and how I felt. And yeah, I think it definitely also explains really well why everything happened in Montreal, or how it happened. With me arriving there empty already, and all that. We all know what happened when I got back from Montreal, and then in between, and then when I went to Toronto. And that was one thing I really want to read. I posted as well about Toronto because I met a girl in the hostel and we connected straight away, and I was able to spend my days in Toronto with her, and we had around the same plan, the same days there, so it was really nice. So I will read this as well. I honestly can't put into words how much this girl made my days better. For once, I wasn't exploring a new city alone, even though I usually enjoy it and it gives me main character vibes. No, this time it was different. Exploring a city with someone, making decisions together, experiencing things together, laughing together. You don't have to talk all the time. You don't even have to be fully present every second. But just having someone there next to you, that's all I need. That's simply what I've been longing for after these past years now. This is how I recharge, right here, right now, in this very moment. And even if we don't know whether we will ever see each other again or even stay in touch, what we do have are these few days and the memory of this time shared with this person. I truly can't express how much it meant to me, how happy I was, how deeply grateful I felt. Just these few days with her. We all know what happened when I got back from Toronto, and that was mid of July, beginning mid of July. And then with realizing I should leave, and planning everything what I have to do, selling my car and selling everything and stuff and organizing everything. I had to go to Vancouver in August a few times. And I really enjoy going to Vancouver, even though it is not I find it's not my city, not at all. But at least for me, it felt like that I can breathe again. And I think it's really important to do some day trips, especially if you are in Whistler, to get out of the Whistler bubble and to go back to reality and see your time in Whistler or Whistler from a distance and reflect on some things. That was the last time I went down to Vancouver. I posted as well, and I really, really like this text. That was mid of August. I've said it so many times, but it's still crazy to me how different I feel. Even being here in Vancouver, a city that honestly is the most uncharming I've ever seen. I feel so much lighter, so much happier, so much more myself. The small, random, but for me heart-filling interactions you have with the barista or waitress, so much simpler, so much easier, but so much more meaningful and impactful. I truly fell in love with life, and I fell hard years ago. That's how I see it, in all its colors, from all its perspectives, through all its chapters. That's why I love traveling, exploring and growing. Everything is different, every single day, if you're open for it. Feeling everything so deeply is both a curse and a blessing. It hurts, yet it's the most beautiful thing at the same time. Every high, every low is intense and beautiful in its own way, especially when you look from a distance. If you do everything with pure intention and love, you will leave marks greater than you could ever imagine. And I will be forever grateful for the way I perceive and live life. I have one text left, or basically two, but we will slowly start my Whistler wisdom, my advice, and how I look back on my time here. When I got back from this day in Vancouver to Whistler, I had again something to say about Whistler. Time moves differently here. almost as if you're in another dimension. You have to experience Whistler with a certain caution, or it slowly draws you in. You can't lose the connection to reality. I haven't lost mine, but during the search for it here, I lost myself. And I believe that sooner or later, you lose either one or both. When I called my therapist, I was in a state where I had like an inner conflict of wanting to give myself security and support because I know I can do it and being able to do so, but at the same time not wanting to rely only on myself, only on me anymore. I was like really, really longing for a person or something, a moment where I don't have to carry it all on my own shoulders. No, actually just someone to hold me just for a moment where I can rest from my own life. As I said, I don't need anyone to handle or solve my problems. It's just, I would love to have someone that holds me. And sometimes you just need that. Someone that holds you in a second, in a moment where you feel you're not alone. A moment that gives you so much energy that you can carry on alone. Which you don't have to, obviously, but yeah. Because the way I do things, I push until the very end, always. Hope dies last. And even if things don't work out, my hope doesn't die. I just switch it off for a while and I just continue without my hope. Giving up is not a solution. I will read my last text, which was on 4th of September. I was fine of being alone again. Like, obviously, as you can see, there was like a lot going on and like I had like a, not constant down, but there was a lot of, I would love to meet people and like I don't want to rely on myself anymore and yada yada yada. And I think that was like the actual pull that got me back to where I was before, being fine and happy by myself. Yeah. So I will read this, and that's also like obviously connected to Whistler. I'm quite happy now. Reading my books, being in my apartment, seeing the sunlight reflected in my home, going to quiet outdoor places, feeling at peace. It's crazy to think that just 3 weeks ago I had one of my worst days. And again, I think I can be happy here. But deep down I know, even if I can, I shouldn't. It's not my place. Maybe it can be, but pretty sure not now. Even though I'm happy with what I have right now, I need more. Because I know there is more. More to feel, more to be happy and grateful for. More fulfillment that comes without having me to make it work. Fulfillment that doesn't only come from me, but from the people around me. Somewhere it happens naturally, without any effort. I'm quite happy now that I've managed to leave this place with a peaceful heart, with love, and with closure. We will come to the actual part I wanted to talk about. My summary of Whistler, my perceptions, my experiences, and my perspective. And then we will go to the Whistler wisdom. Small moments that feel so big. My jump starts, filling my cup, filling myself, and making me feel alive were rare. Normally, I'm full of spark, curiosity, and laughter, and I didn't have that here in Whistler. And that was one thing I realized when I was in Montreal, without actually seeing the city or like walking around, feeling the vibe, that everything I felt only on the bus in the middle of the night from the airport to downtown Montreal. I felt everything, and I realized I don't feel anything of that in Whistler. There's no spark, there's no curiosity. There is curiosity about people, but people make it hard. Everything that makes me is not there in Whistler. I wouldn't say it was necessarily just Whistler. It was also my energy, experiencing everything on neutral. Especially in Whistler, I always needed to step back to recharge, having a break from Whistler itself, having a break from the village, the craziness that goes on in the village. And I just find that so crazy thinking about that I need to step back to recharge from the actual place I am in. There's one thing, I was in the store with Blue and we spoke about so many different things. And I told her how I feel about Whistler and what I feel, like how I feel right now. And it felt like I can't even explain it anymore. And also I don't want to anymore because it's just exhausting. But it was like, I don't even know what the problem is. And I can't find words for it anymore because it feels like it is a feeling. But I was at this time, I was talking about Whistler all the time, and like I felt it, and like I spoke about it in the podcast. I shared my stories and everything, but I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what the problem is. I don't even know why I feel the way I feel in Whistler. What is the fucking problem? And I couldn't find words for it anymore. I couldn't explain it anymore. Because it also, like, it was just exhausting repeating myself all the time. One thing my friend told me or sent me: there's no point in dancing if your intuition is telling you that now is a time to rest. Just like there's no point in resting if momentum is circling you like a beautiful hurricane. So, what is your now? I know that I will be so much happier alone in a big city than alone here, because it feels so different. In a city, it feels free. It feels like main character vibes. Here in Whistler, being or feeling alone feels really lonely because it's just smaller, so much more present. And I had a lot of days, actually, I was shocked by them as well, but I had a lot of days where I just didn't feel like dealing with people anymore because I was actually just disappointed in humans and human interactions and human beings here in Whistler. I was so annoyed by only a person that walks into the cafe. I'm like, just fucking leave. Please go out. I can't handle people anymore. Can't deal with it. Can't be bothered. And yeah, it's just really sad. I didn't road trip through Canada. I didn't take vacation in Mexico, how like most people do. It was never important to me to be known or popular. What mattered to me was being real and authentic and leaving marks and things better than I found them. So my wisdom for Whistler is definitely the people around you influence your experience here. If you don't have people, then you're fucked. So my advice would be try to find people as soon as you can. They don't have to be your people. You will get to your people eventually at some point. But you need to be in a group first to be able to find other groups and other people. And maybe, hopefully, eventually, at some point, your people. But when you first get here, try to find people as soon as you can. And the way you meet people here is either at work or the people you live with. Work in social places, restaurants, bars. The thing with my job was that when I got to Whistler, I really felt like settling. I worked in restaurants so many times, and I don't believe that I can learn anything else or like more in restaurants or like serving people on a high standard. So that was the reason why I wanted to learn something else, why I wanted to work somewhere else. For example, I know a lot about coffee or about like the theory, but I could never practice. So I definitely saw myself in like working in a coffee shop that fits into like my longing of like settling and having structure and a routine. What is missing as well is to work in a bar. I would love to be a bartender. I would love to be creative with cocktails and stuff, or again in general making cocktails. But that didn't felt like the place I wanted to work in at the time I got to Whistler. For me, for my situation, what I needed and what I wanted was the cafe was definitely the right decision, but in terms of like being in Whistler, it wasn't the right decision. And I don't want to say that working in a cafe is the wrong job to work in. You can have great work friends, but the cafe I was working in, my personality mattered, and that's what was important to me, because it's important to me that I'm happy at work. and that I feel fulfilled, and not somewhere where I can be replaced the very next day. There are definitely a lot of cafes that are more social and more people your age working, but in terms of like restaurants, I was done with restaurant work. I was like no, I don't want to do it. I know like you have great tips and you can make a lot of money and work in a restaurant, but I was like, I don't care about the money. I just want to be happy. I just want to work in a nice place that is calm and true and like real and lovable. And I had that and I was happy about that, but it definitely didn't help in terms of like the social environment. And then the other part, live with people together. Again, I was happy to live by myself, or that's actually the first time that I lived by myself, and I was quite happy about it. Like, I know I can spend time alone, but living together is such a big part here in Whistler. As everyone knows, it is a pain, it is really hard, but everyone sorts it out sooner or later. There are a lot of horror stories, but please, like, don't take that as an aspect of not coming here. You will sort it out, I'm pretty sure. And I have friends, they pay $1,300 if not more a month for a room without even a window, and like, or they live in a fucking basement. Like, traveling lowered my standard for sure. But I was in a stage where I was like, no, I really want to feel like home. And I wouldn't feel like at home if I would live in a basement with 3 other people in my room. So in my case, living alone was for me like also like the right decision. And like, I was really lucky. Like, I can, something like this, like, I don't think that you will find something like this ever again here in Whistler. But for your Whistler experience, definitely live with people together, because that's how you get into groups. That's how you get out. That's how you can socialize. That's how you meet people. The way the landlords actually take advantage of us or like abuse the situation you're in, that made me so angry. And there's like, you realize that there's a lot about money here in Whistler. And that's another thing that is not... Like, I get it, but like, that's not the surrounding I want to be in. The difference between the rich people coming here for vacation and like the poor people like us, there's nothing in between. That's why so many people are telling you, oh, you should be happy, you should be grateful living in a place where people spend thousands of dollars for only a weekend. But if you don't have the right Whistler experience, you can't force yourself being happy here. So even if you have a shitty day and people say that to you, keep in mind you're allowed to feel shitty. You're allowed to feel the way you feel, because they don't know your surrounding, they don't know your situation. Even if it's a person that is in a similar situation like you, they can have completely different experiences than you. So don't feel bad, don't feel guilty. There's a lot going on in Whistler, a lot of emotions, a lot of people, a lot of souls, lost souls, I would describe. Actually, like, a lot of people here being lost, figuring it out, which is fine, there's nothing wrong about it, but it definitely makes something with the vibe. And I don't even think that's necessarily the people. I think Whistler does something to the people, and people do something to you, or at least to me, like the surrounding you're in. It has a lot of influence, for sure. People here are just open if they have to be, not because they are. And every time when someone told me, oh, Whistler is so open, there's so many open-minded people. Sorry, they're not. There's so many people here saying, oh, it just takes a lot of energy and I can't be bothered to like meet new people because people come and go. Honestly, I get it. It is exhausting to socialize all the time, but I've never heard such a dumb argument. Honestly, it made me so angry, because what do you expect? Do you have a fear of losing someone, or like a fear of attachment? You don't know what you can miss if you are like this. You can miss out on a conversation that will completely change your point of view. Even if people are here only 2 or 3 days, yeah, I completely get that you're not best friends with them. You don't have to be, but be open and like be curious, like exchange, because one single person, one single conversation can change so much. Don't miss out on this opportunity, especially here. where people come and go, and you don't know what person you have in front of you, what story is behind this person that can actually influence or change your life. And I get it. But as soon as a person says that or like behaves like this, everyone else does it as well. Because that's how I feel about Whistler. Because that happened to me. I was just repeating what others told me. And if people talk about that openly, others will start behaving like this as well. And what does that do to a community? The community will end up closed-minded. If you can't handle the constant change here in Whistler, then move to Squamish or Pemberton. Then don't stay in Whistler. Don't expect something else. Don't be so selfish building up the life you want in a place you want if the place is not what it is or what you want it to be. Because Whistler's reality is people coming and going every single day. And if you don't adjust, if you're not open to it, like, then why did you choose Whistler? Yeah, most probably because of the lifestyle and like the mountains just in front of your door. But you will basically have the mountains in front of your door also if you move to Squamish, which is only 45 minutes away. Yes, you will need a car. You can't walk. But it's the thing of wanting. There's nothing wrong about it. But I don't get that people, they're just so selfish, saying, oh yeah, I don't want to meet anyone else because it's so exhausting. I get it. Believe me, I get it. You don't have to be best friends with like the next person you work with, but just being genuinely open. And it is about the energy, the vibe, and the mindset. And if you are like this, then I don't know. It just like it made me so angry if people said that. It was like, yeah, I get it. And I was fuming inside. I was like, what the fuck? To be fair, like I come from a different background. I come from traveling, meeting people, being curious, wanting to learn, wanting to exchange. And like maybe it's my fault of coming here to Whistler. Maybe nothing is wrong about their behavior or like their mindset. But I think that's closed-minded and that's not open-minded how everyone describes it to be. You're living a fucking lie, and like it basically feels like that the people are scared of life, the magic of life, the fulfillment of life. They're missing out on their life. They're missing out on things they don't know that they can have because they just see down the road and not the horizon. I always think like be open, be curious, explore, and try to have a big horizon. But maybe Whistler's people are just simply not like that. Maybe Whistler's people are not those kind of people. Maybe they're not high on life, but high on drugs. And then they cover it by saying, oh yeah, it's about the nature and the calmness, or I don't know. Perfect that I put it into the sentence because, yeah, drugs is a really big part. Drugs is a really big thing here in Whistler, and taking drugs here is so normal. There are no consequences because the whole village is run by people under 30. That's how it feels like. People live in this bubble that feels secure and maybe also is secure. Whistler is definitely about having a good time here. But taking drugs and being high at work or like taking drugs at work is not what I would say living your best life. Because if you would look back, or even if you have like children at some point, would you say that like living my best life was taking drugs at work? Sorry, that's not living your best life. That's a fucking problem. But like maybe people would describe me as like, I don't know how to have fun, or I don't know, whatever. I don't care. Because the way I find having a good time is genuine and real and comes from within. And yeah, a lot of people are not like this, and that's fine. And it definitely let me feel that there are a lot of people escaping their lives, escaping their reality, running away from something, but you always take it with you. And that's what I can feel. And their problems or their reality, it won't disappear. Maybe, yeah, for some people, if they stay long enough here in Whistler, living in this bubble. But that's exactly what I talked about with Jacob in one episode, about mental health. At some point, you live with it. and you're fine. But it's not what you can get out of life. You can get out of life so much more if you start working on yourself and solving your traumas or anything that holds you back from living a greater life. And not many people are ready for it. A lot of people are aware of it and they still have a good time. And that's so fine. There's nothing wrong about it. Being aware of like what is happening in Whistler and how Whistler is, but still enjoying your time here. You don't have to feel guilty being happy here or like having a good time here. Sometimes we need breaks of our life, and like if that's the break you need and the life you want to live for now, there's nothing wrong about it. Just because I see it this way doesn't mean that you have to feel guilty or like that it is wrong and actually enjoying being here. Another thing I would definitely recommend is to come in the shoulder season, because I would actually say come before summer, because you will experience the summer with like all the people that come here or are actually about to leave, but you can get into groups and you will be like longer here or already here when all the people come for the winter season. And that's like a time where a bunch of new people are coming to Whistler and a bunch of people leaving actually. So everything will be in transition, but it will be also, as I said, easier for you to like find new people and create new groups. So yeah, that's definitely one thing I would say after being here for such a long time. You can still have a great time without any of this. Like it all depends on how you come to Whistler, with which intentions, because you can have a great time being aware of what's happening in Whistler, feeling this way, but still having a great time. Maybe if it's your first overseas experience, or if you're actually really into mountain sports, mountain biking, skiing, the mountain here is perfect for it. Like the conditions, they're awesome, especially in winter. I don't know about it in summer for mountain biking, but you can do those things alone and still feel fulfilled and be happy about your experience here and be happy about your time here and go to the après. I didn't have the energy for that anymore. I didn't have energy to do things myself anymore. Still, I did it. And if you travel alone for the very first time, or if you live abroad for the very first time, it might not be hard doing things alone or going up the mountain alone or enjoying Whistler by yourself, because going somewhere for the very first time is so fulfilling and so exciting. So yeah, you can have a great time here in Whistler for sure. It just depends who you are and with which intentions you come here. Because my intentions were settling, meeting people. That's why I came to Whistler, because so many people told me, oh, you can meet so many people here in Whistler. And that's why I travel. That's why I came here, because I love meeting people. I love exchanging. I love broaden my horizon just because of conversation. And that's true. You can find a lot of people here in Whistler, but building connections is not the priority of most of the people here. And it definitely feels like a game. And I just want to let people see another side of like Whistler, because if people would have explained it to me the way I talk about it now, I probably would never have gone to Whistler, because everything you hear about Whistler is like, oh, it's great. Like you can meet a lot of people. It's like, best time of my life, yada, yada, yada. But there is so much more about it. And there's so much more behind it. And I would have wished to have had someone that would have told me about Whistler from this perspective. I feel it's a fucking game, and you can either decide to play with it or stay out of it. And that's exactly why you have to know for what reasons you're coming here, what intentions you have. If you're here for the nature, for the mountain, then you can have a great time and stay out of it or play with it. Or if you want to escape or have a break from life, then you can have a great time here as well. It just depends on you, and you definitely need to be aware of what to expect here. For me, basically, everything feels the same. Without soul, without depth. The village looks like a fucking film set, and the life here feels really empty to me, really shallow. Yeah, there is a bit of history about Whistler, but not the kind of history I'm used to from Europe, not the depth, not the influence in the culture. And that's what I'm missing. I miss culture, I miss depth and history. You don't have that in Whistler. As we said, like it's a bubble, and it's kind of like a Disneyland for adults. You live next to like the richest people in the world, but it also feels like that you can be as rich as you want money wise, but you can also be so empty inside. The happiness and the fulfillment comes from within, and it doesn't matter how much money you have or like where you live, or that you have Whistler's mountains every single day in front of your door. If the happiness or fulfillment doesn't come from within, then it's not there. I was really harsh and very hard about this, and it's important to me to mention that please don't be influenced by my experience or my perception. You can have a great time here in Whistler. You just need to know for what reasons you come here, and I think it's definitely helpful to know what to expect and how it works. And yeah, and I would still say go and try it out, figure it out if it's something for you or not. You can always leave, but be aware that you might get stuck here because of the environment and the surrounding. So make sure that you do day trips to Vancouver. And now I will talk about how my time here was in Whistler. I don't have to say much about it anymore, but it will lean into what I've learned and what I took from my time here in Whistler. How was my time here? Honestly, not great. Not at all. Definitely not good. I didn't have a good time here at all. I went through a lot of pain, a lot of emptiness, and it definitely took my spark. And my soul was dying, not to forget. I didn't felt the need to do things at some point anymore, experiencing things, because I also couldn't. I didn't have any energy anymore. I'm a person, I would need 5 hugs a day. It's not just Whistler, like that's in general. I haven't had that many hugs since I started traveling. And I actually can't remember when I had my last hug here, actually. Oh, I think I do. Like I remember I remember this really genuine hug. This one hug. It felt so full. It was such a great hug. I can't. I really, really loved this hug. It was such a great hug. God. And I don't think that I ever had such a hug in Whistler. Definitely not in Whistler. And I don't even know if I can say if I had such a hug in general. Honestly, be proud. It was such a great hug. God. And it makes me so honestly, it makes some small things like that make me so happy. God. Yeah. It was a great hug. It was a really, really great hug in Creekside. Not that long ago. One thing I've realized in Whistler, or learned in Whistler, is that being friends with me means taking responsibilities, standing up for yourself, and needing to love yourself. I mean, you don't have to be fully there, because loving yourself it's an ongoing journey, and like you don't necessarily have to love yourself, but like self-love is also like not about loving everything about you. It's more accepting everything about you, and you don't have to be at the point where you accept and love everything about you. It's more about if you are aware and in the process. For me, it also means that, especially here, loving yourself. Don't find fucking excuses for people that hurt you just to be part of something, or just to be part in a group that isn't real. There are a lot of stories, and that's pretty common, that they are best friends and they know each other's crushes, and as soon as they turn around or like leave, your apparently best friend sleeps with your crush. Luckily it never happened to me because like there's no fucking crush. But it happened to the people around me. That happens so often here. I don't have any excuses for that. If that's what you do in a friendship, you're really poor, honestly. And I'm open about it. I'm open to say that. Don't do that. That's not what you do in a friendship. You're not a good friend by doing this. If you still chill with those people while you're friends with me, then do what you please. But sorry. And that's unfortunately like the common story in Whistler. Like no one fucking cares. Everyone is just so focused about having a good time, and it doesn't fucking matter who's who. I record this episode for you to be aware and for you to know how to play the game here in Whistler and come to Whistler. Come to Whistler without expectations, finding people. As I mentioned, try to find people as soon as possible, but don't expect them to be your best friends. And by not expecting this, you might hopefully eventually find your people and build connections you never thought you will build. But coming here, like as a person like me, you're fucked. It's oh, and don't say Whistler is not for everybody. There is truth in that saying, but saying that to someone like me that is really competitive and like is seeking for challenges and want to make things work, that's the worst you can say, because then I really want to make it work, and that's what I did. That was not the challenge I was looking for, and I made it my challenge. Please don't say that. And if you say it, stop saying it, because that can trigger something in people. Just come here without expectations. Yeah, maybe you have fun, you don't, doesn't matter. You can always leave, you can stay, up to you. But yeah, Whistler also brought me good things. For example, the podcast, my growth in my jobs, the purpose I got. It definitely let me lose myself. But even though it was really hard and painful in the moment and really lonely, losing yourself is actually one of the most beautiful things that can happen to you, because it's an opportunity to find yourself in a new way and grow so much more. You can become better. You will become better than the version you've been before. Losing yourself is scary. It is hard. It is painful and lonely. But it is actually really beautiful, because it lets you remember that you're still alive and you live a life that holds so many different paths for you. Yeah, it was hard, but it let me also appreciate myself again so much more. And every time I go through a hard phase and I appreciate being the way I am, and every time I think, oh, I actually can't appreciate myself more, there's always another situation that lets me appreciate myself more. And as I just mentioned earlier, yeah, it is great. It's great. It's your strength. But at the same time, it can be a bit, like, I'm a bit worried that, not worried, but it lets you become so strong that it might be hard for others to actually approach you or connect with you. I'm so happy for the way I am, the way I always pull myself out, the way I always end up still finding something positive or turn things around into a positive thing. I'm happy that I'm as strong as I am, that I just get things done, that I can help myself, and the way I still always see the good, even when I feel deeply or not good. And I think that's a great thing to be capable of. So yeah, maybe you should actually go to Whistler. Maybe it will let you appreciate yourself more, and it will definitely let you grow, for sure. Even if you live your best life in a bubble here, if your time comes to an end, you will have grown and you didn't even realize. You will have changed, and everything everything is an opportunity, and everything leads to a new life you can choose.